Good afternoon from Central Virginia. I am going to give you a little bit of a abbreviated July garden tour because I realized I really needed to get this up to date. So let's see. Today is July 10th and the garden is doing pretty well. We've had some rain, which is good. We've had some bugs, which is bad. And I have been harvesting quite a lot of things out of this garden. So let's get started. First off, on the outside, my rose alley is starting to bloom again. And I've had loads and loads and loads of flowers. This little perennial bed here is almost over. But we've had gladiolas and we've had beautiful sunflowers. All my volunteer sunflowers are doing just great. Look at the color of this rose. The tomato plants, which had been so damaged by the hailstorm, which was about 2 weeks ago, they have started to heal, and I've actually gotten some tomatoes, some cherry tomatoes off, and actually a couple of the glacier ones as well. You can see a little cluster right back here. Maybe I'll pick one. Ooh, perfect. Still no luck with that passion flower vine putting out any blossoms, which is somewhat disappointing. But oh my, would you just look at the flowers? These black-eyed Susan and echinacea, these monarda are just going crazy. And of course, in the background there, you see Audrey. Ah, Audrey. I'm under the hops archway now, and you can see that the hops flowers are starting to form here. I'm hoping we get a nice harvest of hops for my husband to make beer. Relocated him. Here is that rescue eggplant. This is a Puntung long eggplant, and it is doing great. It is having some flea beetles, so that is, but hopefully this plant is large enough now to be able to withstand that. Walking along the outside, you see the flower border, and you see loads and loads and loads of peppers in the pepper row. These are sweet peppers. Here are a bunch of shishitos growing here. All here just loaded down with shishitos. So the pepper plants, the peppers are starting to yield. All right, over here we've got a crimson sweet watermelon that is really starting to take off. It's amazing because these plants, once they start growing and really taking off, they just move out. And these are butternut squash. I've got nice butternut squash coming along. You can see that my family came in this weekend and they helped me rabbit proof or rabbit deter, critter deter. We put up hardware cloth all along the perimeter of this of the entire garden, except for one small section we couldn't get to. Hopefully that'll keep the rabbits, at least deter them from getting in. Let's not make it easy for them. The sweet potato pen is coming along. I'm now at the southern archway, and I've already had one big sunflower grow. I replanted the flowers that are along the edge, reseeded them, and they're doing very well. So we'll have some flowers popping up along the borders here. We've got some zinnias and borage and a couple of watermelon plants growing in as well. Really beautiful pink and fuchsia gladiolas growing here. Please pardon my mess. I still need to weed whack. That's on the list, I promise. But I just wanted to get this done. This is a pumpkin. I believe that one is a Cinderella pumpkin. And then we have three cantaloupe plants that are growing up here. So this is, and look, here is a volunteer tomato plant. And I gotta say, the volunteer plants are the ones that look the healthiest. They're the survivors of the fittest. My friend Meredith was here in this earlier in April, and she helped me just make this little bed, no dig bed, and I moved the lavender in, and the lavender just has taken off, as has the sage, and these are 2 Mexican sunflowers that I transplanted. Now these are things that don't like to be watered a lot, and they had been struggling, the lavender had been struggling in my other beds. And so I don't know why I have it in a cage, I gotta move the cage. It is really happy here though. I'm not watering this. I maybe water it if it's super dry. Otherwise, I just let nature do its thing. And all of these plants are just booming, which makes me extremely happy. I have always wanted to grow lavender. I've just never had any really good luck with it. So I'm hoping that this really does the trick. It certainly took off once I moved them into this spot and stopped watering them so much. I'm now standing just midway up the south side border, and we have a Florida Dale tomato. It's got some nice fruit set on it here in the back. And I've got a couple pepper plants and loads of flowers. And in the warts and all department, this is a tomato plant that I transplanted, and it just isn't doing anything. I'm not sure why it's not a happy camper. And this Rutgers is doing meh, so-so, but just not vigorous. This is the little eggplant that was struggling, the other one that was struggling. It's been attacked by flea beetles so much, and I am going to put some more dust on there to try to get it through. Its companion in this pot, you can just see the pulverization of the flea beetles. It's just awful. Hello, black-eyed Susans, and the pink color of that yarrow is so nice. This is a new plant for me this year. This is feverfew. And here is the Ruth Stout bed that had potatoes in it, and now this is a Seminole pumpkin, and that's a Cinderella pumpkin growing. Once we walk around, ooh, feels good to be in the shade. This is the the trellis that is on the western edge, the most western edge. And I wanted to try to grow snake bean plants, and I am happy to say that I have 3 snake bean plants that have decided they are actually going to grow, and they're starting to climb. So hopefully they will fill this trellis, and the zinnias will be in front of them as well as the borage. And I'm happy to report that this purple bumblebee plant, tomato plant, is starting to really grow again. This one had a lot of damage, but it is vigorous and just growing like crazy. And it's had its first fruit set come onto it. Here we go. These are kind of large size cherry tomatoes. I really love it. One of the things I learned about growing the purple bumblebee last year is even if you prune it, it's going to do its own thing and go where it wants to go. And so I just put it out here, and I figured, all right, it's on the edge of the garden. Let it go crazy. Let it go crazy wild. Walking through the arch, here's another Mexican sunflower, so that's going to go nice and tall. And you can see the Cinderella pumpkin that got so damaged by the hailstorm has recovered and is growing, as is the Seminole. So one of the things I'm going to do with these pumpkins, where they touch the ground, like right here in the vine is, I'm going to go and get some compost, cover it over so this section will grow some roots, and that hopefully will help protect against vine borers. This is the hail damage on this leaf, but it's got plenty of new leaves and it's just taken off. I'm going to let it do its thing. Look at those flowers. This is the patch where my onions were harvested out of, and all of these tomato plants that you see are all volunteers. I think they're purple bumblebee because that's what was here falling over the fence last year, and I'm just going to let them grow. And we'll have another external tomato patch here. Beautiful Monarda, that's the wild kind, and the yarrow has been blooming. If you were watching this week, you knew that my family helped me with several things, and my fix-it nephew helped me with this gate, which I'm going to shut because the bunny is about. All right, so a lot has changed in here. Things are beginning to grow. The new summer crops are coming along well. This is the row of tomatoes and basil, and the interplanting of tomatoes, basil, and marigolds that accompany these 2 tomato plants. And in the back, I have a row of Dean's purple green beans that are really doing well. I like this variety. It comes up well. It looks like it's pretty resistant so far to disease. And I'm going to have a nice row of beans growing up on this northwestern edge. Swinging around, I've got my Sululong cucumber plant. I have harvested about 4 cucumbers off of this plant already. Here is where it got snipped off from the hailstorm. This plant got super damaged, and I just saw a vine borer fly off of here. But we've got new growth, which is awesome. You know, this plant will produce, and then ultimately I will chop it down and let these uh, Worcester red pole beans that are planted around this teepee grow. Also in this bed, I planted about 10 days ago some Roma green beans, and I also planted direct seeded another tomato. These are Ace 55s, which are determinate tomatoes. So we'll see which one of those is the strongest. I might actually take the other two and transplant them someplace else. And on the other edge, I've got some basil that I direct seeded as well. Looking across, you see tomatoes. This northern edge of tomatoes, you know, this north side of the garden really took hits from that hailstorm, which was an odd angle, and it came in from the north. And so these plants got knocked back pretty far. I've got 3 tomato plants growing there. So in the middle of the tour, my sister and her son's girlfriend, Yama from China, is just came to get some food for dinner. Yama's gonna make dinner. So let's go get the shard. Look at this. Look at this, guys. This is very exciting. Look! Little Eden gems. The first 2 Eden gems are arriving. And the lima beans are on the other side of the trellis. Back over there. Those are Henderson lima beans, bush beans. All right, so Yama and Ella are leaving with a stash of vegetables. She got squash leaves, some zucchini, and a good bit of chard. Should be good. All right, bye guys. Come back to visit.
We will when we need more food.
And here's a happy little sunflower. I think they're the happiest flowers in the world. All right, so I've got 3 tomato plants growing on this northern edge. This one is a purple bumblebee that I transplanted and used to replace a tomato that had not been thriving there. This is a Jubilee. This on it, you can see this is the hail damage. And this is my mystery mater, which actually needs to be propped up now and restaked. It has a funky tomato that looks a little bit like a Cherokee purple, always a lot of crenellation in it. This was hail damage as well on this one. So this one is coming along, starting to recover very slowly from the hail damage. Got some dill that has gone to seed. I'll be cutting that back now and letting those parsnips have some breathing space. These are the parsnips, which are now thigh high and thriving. They really don't need much care. They just kind of take care of themselves. And I've been harvesting beets out of here. You can see, I think I'm going to be doing some fermenting of these beets. Now my collards have been just hammered by this thing. And that was a harlequin bug. And those are horrible. Those have been just decimating. There's a baby one right there. I'm going to squish it with my bare hands. I'm going to be coming in and I'm going to go ahead and treat this because I don't want these harlequin bugs to get too comfortable in this garden. They are just horrifically awful, nasty bugs. The eggplants. Flea beetles are a problem, but at this point I've got them uncovered because they're starting to flower. You can see a flea beetle right here. I'm just going to squish it and squish that one and squish that one. The flea beetles, definitely a problem, but because the eggplants are starting to flower, I don't want to put too much dust down at this point. I may come in at night and just do a dusting and get up at dawn and knock it off. Flea beetle. Flea beetles. Nasty things. This is the area I call a snake alley because I've seen snakes in here a couple of times. Fine by me, they're black snakes and they're eating voles. So these squash plants are about to, I think they're about at the end of their productive life. But I'm probably going to just chop them soon, remove them, and replant some new squash plants. Here is the patch, the sauce patch, and it is doing really, really, really well. It is now up to my waist. and it's got plenty of tomatoes that's starting to set on here. It's kind of the third tier of them. And I am starting to check now nightly for hornworms. So far, and I know I'm going to find more because they always show up. So far, I've only found one hornworm. I think that one thing that is one reason why I've only found one so far is that I have a lot of birds that like to hang out around my garden and feed. So if those guys are taking care of the hornworm caterpillars, I'm really happy about that. I have done a big cutback on this basil today. I sent some up to Baltimore with my husband, who's going for a few days so he can make a big thing of pesto. Cutting it back and really letting it take off again and get bushier will keep it going for more of the season. Here's some more squash. Here's Audrey with her sunflowers in bloom, and more peppers coming along in the pepper alley. So that's a very quick tour of the status of the garden. The plans now, I've got to do some more seeding of some squash, pull out these big ones that are not as productive anymore. I'll be moving some new cucumbers down here pretty soon, and I will be doing some treatments of baking soda to help control any kind of mildews that are coming along. Other than that, I'm just enjoying eating out of the garden. It's been a pleasure. So, thanks for watching. Happy gardening. Bye.